Tarek was a simple human technician. He worked on wires, engines, and broken door panels at the giant galactic station called Unity Spire. Every day he ate the same food, protein bars, noodles, or cheap veggie rolls from the food court. But today was different. Today he had invited someone for dinner. Not just anyone. Ziani of Zirin, an alien warrior girl with silver skin, sharp green eyes, and long hair tied with golden thread. She was strong, proud, and came from a rich, warrior-like alien culture where honor meant everything. They had worked together last week, repairing a broken defense drone. She was skilled and focused, but also curious about human habits. So, he smiled and casually said, "We should grab a bite sometime." She had stared at him for 3 full seconds, then nodded once. "Yes, let us eat. I accept your invitation." Tarek didn't think much of it. He chose a small food stall on level 7 called Nico's Noodles, famous for spicy soups and sweet buns at 1800 hours sharp. He arrived in his cleanest jacket, hair brushed. Ziani arrived 2 minutes later. And that's when Tarek realized he may have made a mistake. She wore a flowing ceremonial coat embroidered in gold threads. A silver badge sat on her chest, something only elite warriors wore. She even had light face paint. Her posture was stiff, formal. "Greetings, human. Tarek," she said in a firm voice. "I am ready for the ritual." He blinked. "Ritual? The meal. You have called me. I have come. Now you may offer your gifts." "Gifts?" She looked confused. "Yes. Food is offering. Mail invites. Mail provides." Tarek scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. Yeah, let's order." They sat at a corner table. Tarek ordered hot soup and fried bread. Ziani picked the most expensive meal on the menu, triple beast platter with rare sauces. As they waited, they talked. Tarek told her about his childhood, on Mars's lower domes. Ziani spoke of growing up in the mountains of Zira, learning sword forms at age 4. She asked strange questions. "Is it true that human males cry? Do you really clean your own rooms? Why do you call your son the sun? That is very lazy naming." Tarek laughed. She didn't smile, but her eyes glowed brighter. When the food arrived, she clapped once, an old Zirin sign of approval. They ate in silence for a while. Then finally the server brought the bill on a small glowing pad. Tarek looked at it, nodded, and said, "All right, you had the triple platter. I had soup. Let's split the bill, yeah?" Ziani froze. She blinked once, then twice. "What did you say?" Tarek repeated, casual as ever. "Let's split. You pay your half, I'll pay mine." Her face slowly shifted from neutral to shocked, then insulted. "You invited me," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "This was your food claim. You are the offering giver." He blinked. No. I mean, yeah, I invited you, but we're just 2 coworkers sharing food, right?" Her hands curled into fists. "On Zyra, a male who invites a female and then does not cover the meal is a dishonorable male, a fake." Weakhorn." Tarek raised an eyebrow. "A what?" "Weakhorn," she repeated. "It is a shame title. Worse than being unskilled." Tarek laughed nervously. "Well, on Earth we usually split bills. Men and women are equals." She stared at him like he had grown a second head. "You split food?" "Yes." "Even with potential mates?" "Of course." She stood up slowly, her eyes burning with confusion. "This is not what I expected." Tarek stood too. "Hey, look, I didn't mean to offend. I thought it was just dinner." She nodded stiffly. "It was. And I have eaten. But you have left me puzzled." She paid her half, turned around, and walked out of the food court, her ceremonial robe flowing behind her. Tarek sighed, rubbed his forehead and muttered, "Well, that went well." Outside, Ziani walked with fast steps, angry and confused. "Split the bill," she whispered to herself. Is this how humans show honor? Do they truly believe equal food means equal hearts? Her cousin, Commander Relk, saw her coming and frowned. You look troubled. Was the human male not respectful? Ziani looked back at the food court, then whispered, He was strange. But he smiled at me with no fear. He spoke freely, and he did not lie. Commander Relk raised an eyebrow. Then perhaps he is not weak-horn, just different. Ziani looked down at her still warm stomach. I will test him again. One meal was not enough. Ziani marched into the Ziran embassy wing of Unity Spire with fire in her steps and confusion in her heart. Her cousin, Commander Relk, followed close behind. You are walking like you just survived combat. Ziani didn't answer, not until the metal door slid open and she stepped into the common chamber, where 3 other Ziran females sat polishing armor and drinking hot root tea. They all looked up when they saw her face. Ziani, what happened? Was the human meal offering a success? Ziani stood straight, placed both hands on her hips, and said one word. He split the bill. The room went silent. A teacup dropped and rolled on the floor. One warrior stood up. He what? Ziani nodded firmly. He offered me food. I accepted. We ate. Then he asked me to pay half. The warriors gasped, as if she had just said he slapped a queen. Split the bill? That is forbidden. That's male cowardice. Was this human raised by thieves? Commander Relk stayed quiet, watching Ziani carefully. And, what did you do? I paid, she admitted through clenched teeth. But I left confused. He said it is normal for humans. Meanwhile, 2 levels below, Tarek sat in the crew break room with his friend Jenna. She burst out laughing. Wait. You really asked a Ziran noble to split the bill? Tarek frowned. I mean, yeah. Isn't that normal? Jenna wiped, tears from her eyes. You poor fool. Zirans treat meals like marriage proposals. If you invite them, you're practically asking them to bond for life. What, it was just noodles? Jenna leaned closer. To them it wasn't. You offered food, that's sacred. You might have insulted her entire bloodline. Tarek groaned and put his head in his hands. Why is everything with aliens so complicated? Back in the Ziran hall, Ziani sat with the other females, her jaw tense. One warrior said, Report him to the station council. Humans must learn manners. Another added, Demand public apology and food repayment. Ziani raised a hand. No, I will not bring shame through complaints. Instead, she stood tall. I will confront him again, and understand why he believes splitting food shows respect. Commander Relk looked interested. You will seek truth over revenge? Ziani nodded. Yes. This human is strange, but not cruel. There is something in his eyes, and not fear, but honesty. The room fell quiet. One warrior asked softly, Do you like him? Ziani didn't answer, but her silence said enough. Later that cycle, Ziani found Tarek working alone in the engine bay, fixing a flickering control panel. He heard her boots and looked up, ready for anger. But Ziani only said, We must talk. Tarek dropped his tool and stood. Look, I didn't mean to offend you last night. I thought it was normal. Ziani crossed her arms. For your kind, maybe it is. But on Zira, meal sharing is no small matter. I'm learning that now, Tarek said with a small smile. She stepped closer. I do not want to fight, I want an answer. He nodded. Okay, ask. Ziani tilted her head. Why would a male invite a female, then ask her to pay? Tarek thought for a moment. Because we believe in equal respect. If I see you as strong and smart, I don't treat you like someone who needs to be paid for. I treat you like a partner. Ziani blinked slowly. So, you do not pay because you think I am weak? He shook his head. I didn't pay because I see you as my equal. She stepped back, shocked. You gave me honor. In your own way. Tarek smiled. Exactly. She looked down at her boots. Then perhaps, I judged too fast. Tarek reached into his pack and pulled out a small paper coupon. Free dessert. At Nico's, he said. One per table. Want to share it? Ziani looked at the paper, then up at him, then gave the smallest nod. Yes, but this time, I choose the table. The next day, Ziani stood tall at docking bay 5. Her arms were crossed. Her posture was straight. Her expression, dead serious. Tarek walked up holding 2 cups of steaming synth coffee, whistling softly. He paused when he saw her. Did I do something again? Ziani didn't blink. Yes. You made me curious. Tarek tilted his head. That sounds like a compliment. Or a trap. She stepped forward, voice proud. I, Ziani of Zirin House Veltak, now declare a test. 3 meals, 3 trials. I will judge if your strange split-bill thinking carries true honor, or just lazy pockets. Tarek stared. Wait, are you challenging me to a food duel? She nodded. In a way. Tarek blinked. Okay, but will it include dessert? Ziani ignored his joke. 3 shared meals. 1 chosen by you, 1 by me, and 1 that we build together. Tarek rubbed his chin, smiling. Sounds fair. What happens after? She looked him in the eye. If you prove worthy, I shall accept your customs as valid. If not, you will repay my honor debt in full. Tarek laughed nervously. That sounds expensive. Ziani's eyes narrowed. You have no idea. Later that evening, Tarek was busy preparing the first challenge, his meal choice. He searched the food court, looked through menus, compared spice levels and cultural safety warnings. Too salty for aliens, too hot, too many legs. Finally, he picked a place he loved. Firefang Noodles, a small booth that served hot Earth Asian-style dishes known to melt your tongue. Perfect, if you were human. He glanced at Ziani across the table as she read the menu. She looked cautious. What is Dragon's Breath Noodle Bowl? She asked. Tarek grinned. You'll love it. It's full of flavor and danger. She raised an eyebrow. Is that a challenge within the challenge? He smirked. Maybe. When the food arrived, it was bright red, steaming, and smelled like a volcano. Ziani picked up the chopsticks and stared at them like they were weapons. Tarek demonstrated. Like this, squeeze, grab, lift. She mimicked his hand movement, then stabbed the noodles with the sticks and lifted a massive clump to her mouth. Tarek leaned in, curious. Ziani took 1 big bite and immediately froze. Her eyes widened. Her face flushed purple. Steam came out of her nose, literally. She grabbed the water cup and downed it in one go, then grabbed Tarek's water too. Tarek tried not to laugh. Too spicy? Ziani coughed. I have eaten lava beetles, but this is madness. He handed her a small milk carton. Emergency rations. She drank it without a word. After a long moment of silence, Ziani sat back in her chair, wiping her mouth. That was the most painful food I have ever tasted. Tarek winced. Sorry. I thought it'd be fun. She looked at him. Then, to his surprise, she smiled. It was. He grinned. So, challenge 1 passed? She slowly nodded. Yes. You shared pain. You offered help. And you did not laugh too much. Acceptable honor. He lifted his water bottle like a trophy. Score, 1 for Earth Customs. She leaned forward. Don't celebrate yet. My meal will not be soft. Tarek blinked. Uh-oh. Later, at the Zyran wing, Commander Relk looked up from his datapad as Ziani returned. You smell of chili oil and regret. Ziani sat down, beside him. The human survived the first test, barely. Relk nodded. Interesting. And you? I tasted the fire of Earth, and I want to know more. Back at his quarters, Tarek stared at the ceiling, smiling. She didn't hate it. She smiled. I think I'm starting to get through to her. He didn't realize he was smiling until his roommate walked in and said, You look like a guy who either had the best date or survived a near-death experience. Tarek chuckled. Maybe both. Tarek stood in front of the Zyran ceremonial hall, staring up at the huge golden doors. He wore a borrowed dark tunic and polished boots. He had even combed his hair 3 times. Still, he felt underdressed. Above the door was a large symbol, a beast with 4 eyes and 6 wings. Zyra's ancient symbol for hospitality. But tonight didn't feel like a friendly dinner. It felt like a test. Inside, Ziani waited. She stood near a long table covered in strange dishes, purple meat strips, jelly fruits that glowed, and something alive in a bowl of blue liquid. She wore full formal armor, black and silver with gold trim on the shoulders. Her face was painted with red lines. Tonight, she was not a curious alien girl. She was Ziani of House Veltak. Tarek stepped inside. The heavy doors closed behind him with a soft clang. He gave a polite wave. "Hi," Ziani nodded. "You are on time. Good. On Zira, lateness before food is an insult." He smiled nervously. "Noted." She gestured to the table. "This is the second trial. My food, my ways. You will show your worth by how you eat and how you survive." Tarek raised an eyebrow. "Is this going to hurt?" She looked him dead in the eye. "Maybe." They sat. No servers, no robots. Just them. The first course was laid out. Ziani picked up a thick slice of purple meat and placed it before him. "This is gralka, muscle from sky beasts. You must eat it whole, no biting, one motion." Tarek looked at the rubbery thing. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and shoved it into his mouth. Chewed once, twice, swallowed, then gave a small thumbs up. Chewy, like a stress ball. Ziani looked impressed. Next came the glowing jelly fruits. He bit one, and it popped in his mouth, releasing a taste like sour bubblegum and pickled fish. He gagged. She raised an eyebrow. He swallowed and nodded. "Good. Weird, but good." Ziani allowed a faint smirk. Then came the final trial, live whisper worms. Tarek stared at the small bowl. The worms wiggled, making soft ting sounds like wind chimes. Ziani explained, "They are harmless, sacred. To eat them shows respect to Zyran ancestors." Tarek hesitated. Okay. I came this far." He reached in, picked one up with trembling fingers and dropped it into his mouth. The worm wriggled once, then vanished like cotton candy. He blinked. "That wasn't bad." Ziani nodded. "You did not flinch. That shows courage." After the meal, Ziani poured dark red tea into 2 cups. They sat quietly. The silence wasn't awkward now, it was respectful. Ziani spoke first. "You showed patience, and you did not mock our ways." Tarek looked at her. "Why would I? You respected my noodles, even when they nearly melted your face." She chuckled. Softly, but it was real. "I expected you to fail." He smiled. "So did I." She looked into her cup. "Most humans would have laughed or refused, but you didn't. Why?" Tarek shrugged. "Because I wanted to understand you, not change you." That made her look up. "Understand. Not change." She whispered the words like she was tasting them for the first time. As the evening ended, Ziani walked him to the hall doors. They stood under the same symbol, 4-eyed beast, 6 wings. Tarek turned to her. "So, did I pass?" She studied his face. "You honored the food, you honored me. You didn't die. Yes, you passed." Tarek smiled. "One meal left." She nodded. "Yes, one we must build together." He took a small step closer. "Are you enjoying this?" Ziani looked away, hiding a soft glow in her cheeks. "I do not hate it." Tarek grinned. "I'll take that as a yes." Back inside the hall, Commander Relk watched from the shadows. He sipped his tea slowly. "This human may be strange, but he carries fire in his belly. 2 days passed. Tarek received a message. Final trial begins tonight. Dome 4. Bring one food item from your world. I will bring one from mine. Ziani, he smiled when he read it, not because he knew what to expect, but because, for the first time, he wanted to impress her, not just to win, but to connect. Dome 4 was a quiet, open-view chamber near the top of Unity Spire. The ceiling was clear glass, showing stars and nebula clouds like slow-moving rivers of light. Ziani was already there when Tarek arrived. She had no armor tonight, just a simple flowing tunic in soft gray with a silver belt. Her hair was tied back and she carried a sealed Zyran food box wrapped in silk. Tarek came with a cloth-covered bowl and a small warm flask. They stood silently at first. Then Ziani spoke. You look less messy than usual, Tarek laughed. You're glowing less, that means you're nervous, right? She gave a tiny smirk. A little. They sat on a blanket beneath the stars. Between them, they opened their offerings. Ziani revealed Zyran cloud fruit, delicate blue spheres that floated slightly above the dish. Tarek uncovered homemade Martian bread, flat, warm, and spread with sweet algae jam. Ziani blinked. It smells soft. Tarek grinned. Yours is floating. That's illegal on Earth, I think. They exchanged bites. Tarek tried the cloud fruit. It burst on his tongue, releasing a cool, minty-sweet mist that made his eyes widen. Ziani took a piece of the Martian bread and chewed slowly. It tastes like warmth, like home. Tarek smiled. That's what my mom used to make when life was hard. We'd sit under the shield dome and pretend the food would solve everything. Ziani nodded. On Zira, we eat cloud fruit after a great battle. It reminds us that peace is still possible. They looked at each other for a long moment. Different worlds, same feelings. Tarek leaned back, staring at the stars. Funny, huh? Your people think males should offer food. Mine think it should be equal. Ziani lay beside him, and both forget that sharing is stronger than proving. He turned to her. So, was this test really about food? She was quiet. Then she whispered, No. It was about seeing your truth. She rolled onto her side, her voice softer now. I've trained in war all my life, honor, strength, obedience, but you, human, you showed me another kind of strength, not loud, not forced. Tarek chuckled. I'm just a guy with a wrench and a lunchbox. Ziani reached out, touching his hand lightly. No, you are a male who sees me as more than a tradition. Silence wrapped around them like a warm blanket. In that moment, the space station didn't matter. The galaxy didn't matter. Just two beings, from different stars, sitting beneath a shared sky. Then Tarek broke the moment. So, we passed? Ziani nodded. We shared. We built. We respected. Tarek raised his brow. So, what now? Ziani smiled, small but real. Now, we rewrite the rules. Later that night, Ziani sent a message to Commander Relk. Final trial complete. Human passed, strong in spirit, soft in heart. Permission to proceed to the next stage, cultural fusion. Relk replied, Approved. Just don't forget who cooks during Zyran bonding season. She smiled. The Zyran High Hall was no place for jokes. It was ancient stone, fire-lit torches, and golden masks on every wall. Each seat was carved from black crystal. Every voice that spoke inside was recorded for history. Tarek had never felt smaller. He adjusted his collar for the 5th time, standing beside Ziani at the center circle. All around them, Zyran elders watched with unblinking eyes. Some looked curious. Others looked angry. Ziani, however, stood proud. No armor today. Just a deep red robe, sign of a warrior speaking not with blades but with truth. A tall female elder with glowing skin stood. Her name was High Judge Salentha. She spoke in a deep, slow voice. Ziani of House Veltak, you have returned with A human. Ziani bowed once. Yes, I present Tarek of Terra. He has completed the 3 shared meals of understanding. There was a quiet buzz in the hall. Salentha raised a hand. Speak your case. Ziani stepped forward. For generations, Ziran males have offered food to females as a sign of strength. But I believe strength can be shared. Murmurs again. She continued. This human offered me respect without domination. He shared food, he honored my culture, and he did not try to control me. An older male elder scoffed. He split the bill. A few laughed. Tarek raised his hand awkwardly. Yes, I did. Still poor, by the way. The council gave him a cold look. Ziani didn't flinch. He split the bill, yes, but also split his story, his fear, his time, his heart. The laughter stopped. Salentha leaned forward. And what do you want, Ziani? Ziani took a deep breath. To change the code, to allow bond eating, shared meals without gift or price, as a valid first step in Ziran courtship, especially with off-worlders. The room exploded in gasps. Bond eating with humans? Blasphemy. Weakening tradition. Tarek took a nervous step back. Should I be ducking? Ziani squeezed his hand, then turned to the council. Tradition must not become a cage. It must breathe and grow. Salentha narrowed her eyes. And this, human, what does he say about Ziran law? Suddenly all eyes were on Tarek. He swallowed hard. Hi. No one blinked. He cleared his throat. I'm not here to break your traditions. I'm here because I met someone amazing. Someone who taught me that food isn't just food. It's history, power, love, honor. Ziani's eyes softened. Tarek continued. I didn't split the bill to be rude. I did it because I saw her as an equal, not a prize. Now a few council members leaned forward. I know I'm not from a great house. I fix lights, I eat noodles, but I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud to have shared my table with her. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Salentha stood. She looked at Ziani, then at Tarek. Finally, she turned to the council. Let the record show, the bond-eating proposal has been made. A vote shall occur at next moonrise. Until then, this human is not dishonored. Tarek exhaled loudly. That's the nicest thing anyone said all week. Ziani smirked. You're lucky. On Zira, not dishonored is basically hero. As they walked out of the high hall, Ziani was quiet. Tarek asked, Did I mess anything up? She looked at him. No, you shook the stars. They stopped near the edge of the glowing bridge outside the council hall. Ziani stared at the night sky. No one's ever spoken like that in there. Not even warriors. Tarek leaned on the rail, beside her. Sometimes it takes someone from outside to say what insiders forget. She looked at him with shining eyes. Thank you for seeing me. He smiled. Thank you for not eating me. They laughed. For the first time, no barriers stood between them. The day of the vote had come. Unity Spire was quiet. No alarms, no drills, no market noise. Even the food court was half empty. Every species seemed to be waiting to hear what would happen when one alien girl and one human technician dared to change a tradition older than most planets. Tarek stood in front of a small mirror, combing his hair for the 6th time. He wasn't wearing armor or robes, just a simple, clean shirt and a brown jacket. Ziani walked in behind him. She wore a half-warrior, half-casual outfit, tight black sleeves, a red cloth belt, and a silver badge shaped like a spoon and blade, a new symbol she had designed herself. He turned and whistled. You look ready for war, she smirked. Only if it's a food war. They both laughed. Tarek stepped closer, adjusting the cloth around her, arm gently. Whatever happens today, we already won. Ziani nodded. Because we chose each other. At noon, the council gathered again. But this time, not just elders sat in the high hall. Crowds had filled the public dome. Aliens from over a dozen species watched from the gallery screens. Even humans had tuned in from the lower decks. High Judge Salentha stood before them all. In the matter of the proposal called bond eating, a new first-step ritual built on mutual respect and shared meals, we bring forth the vote. One by one, council members raised their tokens, some green, some red. Some hesitated. Tarek held his breath. Ziani's hands were tight at her side. Then Salentha lifted her own token. Green. By majority vote, she announced, the new right of bond eating is approved. Custom law shall expand. There was a pause. Then a slow cheer began to rise across the hall. It wasn't wild, it wasn't loud, but it was real. Tarek turned to Ziani. Does this mean we invented interstellar dating rules? She looked at him seriously. No, we restored balance. Then she smiled. But yes, also we made history. That evening they returned to their favorite spot, Dome 4. A new table had been set, not by Tarek, not by Ziani, but by volunteers, Zyrans, humans, and even a few Glurn chefs from Sector 3 who had added their own spicy seafruit stew. At the center of the table was a small plaque. One table, two worlds, shared. Ziani sat beside Tarek and looked around. So, what now? Tarek handed her a small bowl. Inside it was half a Martian bread roll and half a floating Zyran cloud fruit. Now, he said, we eat. She took the bowl. Split, but together. Exactly. Around them others began to arrive. Mixed pairs of species, friends, rivals, explorers. Some brought noodles, some brought jelly worms, some brought nothing but smiles. All sat down, all shared. Ziani looked at Tarek and said softly, you know, I once believed a real male must offer everything. Tarek looked into her eyes. And now? She touched his hand. Now I know. A real partner offers respect. He squeezed her fingers gently. Split the bill? She laughed. Gladly.